I bought a parrot in a pet store. The parrot has been trained and can say you're back and time to eat, and it can also sing lullabies. But there is one sentence that I can't understand at all. It sounds like don't get involved. I showed the parrot to my friend. After a long silence, my friend said. What it said was don't kill me. What? I saw a parrot in the pet store. The owner told me that it could talk and teased it with an apple. The parrot took the apple with its beak, ate 2 bites and then threw it into the cage and said, "Time to eat. Time to eat." I thought it was fun, so I bought it and took it home, wanting to teach it to talk. Unexpectedly, after teaching it for a few days, it didn't learn a single sentence, but just talked on its own. Sometimes it would sing lullabies and also say a few words like small chimney, green bottle, small tin can and sofa bed. Sometimes it would also say some inexplicable things, like fat mother and red mother. And that sentence don't get involved that I can't hear clearly no matter what. I don't know why the owner taught the parrot to say these inexplicable things. It sounds completely illogical. In my opinion, what the parrot should learn are daily expressions like time to get up and time to go out. I told a friend about this. When I encounter problems, she is always the first person I think of. Sure enough, the friend watched the video I took carefully and was silent for a long time. What it said was not don't get involved, but don't kill me. This parrot may come from a family that abuses children. 2. After listening to my friend, I felt incredible. How could it be? It's just a parrot. Are you sure it said don't kill me? Even if it did, it might have learned it from TV. How could it be related to child abuse? My friend looked serious and took out a notebook. No, it's not that simple. Tell me as much as you can about what else this parrot has said. Since I played with it every day when I got home, I basically remembered everything it said. Well, it has said small chimney, green bottle, sofa bed, as you've heard, and also that sentence, don't kill me. And small tin can, right? What else has it said? It can also sing lullabies, say time to eat, and often says red mommy, and occasionally fat mommy, thin mommy, black mommy. How can there be so many mommies? My friend looked astonished. I also find it strange, that's why I'm asking you. It has also said it's 10 o'clock, time to eat, it's 7 o'clock, time to eat, I'm 8 years old, and so on. These are normal. Has it said any other strange things? My friend was writing in the notebook. Just these for now. I replied. You still haven't told me why you think there is child abuse. You just said that it hasn't learned any of the words you've taught it these days, right? My friend asked rhetorically. I nodded. Parrots, as a type of bird, rely a great deal on the environment to learn to speak. First, they need a lot of repetition. Second, once they are familiar with the original owner's voice and intonation, it is very difficult for them to respond to new voices. Well, could you put it more simply? I frowned. That is to say, all the words you heard have been repeated a great many times before. As for the sentence don't kill me, the reason why it's not clear is that it has imitated the original owner's intonation. Intonation? What intonation? Don't you still understand? It's a sobbing intonation. My friend said word by word. 3. At this moment, the parrot beside us, as if understanding our conversation, twisted its neck and said in a long drawn-out voice. Don't kill me. It made my hair stand on end. Wait. This is just your speculation. It's too far-fetched to say something about child abuse just based on this. My friend shook his head. It's not just based on this. It also said small chimney, green bottle, sofa bed in the video, right? Yes, but what does that mean? It has always said these words together, which means that when its owner taught it to speak, it was also taught in this way. Maybe so, but what does it represent? Let's substitute. What do these words mean in a child's mind? I closed my eyes and thought, but I couldn't find their connection no matter what. They were just a few simple words. Where can we still see chimneys at home now? Could the small chimney refer to the burning cigarette? This is just a hypothesis. My friend continued. But if the green bottle refers to a beer bottle and the sofa bed refers to sleeping on the sofa. This makes sense, right? A man who smokes and drinks all day and sleeps on the sofa when drunk. Don't forget that parrots need a lot of repetition to learn to speak, that is to say, this was the daily scene in the former owner's house. I was stunned. The strangely intoned don't kill me kept echoing in my mind. Could it be that the child at home was also repeating this sentence constantly? 4. My friend's words left me stunned for a long time. A man who smokes and drinks all day, beats his child when drunk, and sleeps on the sofa. The parrot has been sold. What about its owner? He might be only 8 years old. I didn't dare to think about it. My friend noticed my worry and quickly comforted me. Don't think the worst. Maybe it's not that bad. Don't forget, there is also the child's mother in the family. My friend's words reminded me. Right, the child still has a mother. It's just that at this stage, the couple might be sleeping in separate beds. Right, that lullaby. I quickly said. I'll record it for you to listen to. Does this mean that the child's mother loves him very much and sings him to sleep every night? Most likely so. My friend nodded. But isn't this a bit strange? I said. A mother who sings her child to sleep every day, and a father who drinks, beats the child and sleeps on the sofa. Can such a family still exist? Maybe not anymore. My friend replied. So the parrot has been sold. Not anymore. Do you mean? The words "don't kill me" came to my mind again. Don't overthink. We can't jump to conclusions. And there's one more thing that hasn't been figured out yet. What? Red mother, fat mother, thin mother, black mother. What do these mean? These words are very strange. Maybe they are the key points. I couldn't figure it out either. The parrot pronounced these words clearly. There was no way of mishearing them. Why does this child have so many names for his mother? What does it mean? How about asking the pet store owner? My friend reminded me. Maybe he still remembers the person who sold the parrot. Also, record everything the parrot has said for me to listen to. Don't miss any clues. I nodded repeatedly. I'm not surprised that my friend could think of these things. I know about her past. Perhaps when she was listening to what the parrot said, she thought of herself back then. So she left this city where her parents live. I found a mobile phone and tried my best to make the parrot talk more in front of it. At this point, I have to take this matter seriously. 5. Early the next morning, I went to the pet store. As soon as I mentioned the parrot, the owner thought I was coming to return it and waved his hands repeatedly. I couldn't make him understand, so I turned around, took a few bags of bird food and put them on the cashier. It's not for returning. No matter how I teach it to talk, it just won't learn. I wonder if you know its previous owner and how to teach it to talk. Only then did the owner beam with joy. Oh, you are asking about this. A woman brought the parrot to the store and asked me if I wanted it. I thought the bird was very nice and took it. What did she look like? Do you know her? I asked. No. The owner shook his head. What color of clothes was she wearing? Was she fat or thin? I was a little impatient. Why are you asking about these? The owner became vigilant. Didn't you want to ask how to teach the parrot to talk? I have a tutorial here that I can sell to you. I waved my hand and turned to look at the camera above the counter. I want to find its previous owner. May I check your surveillance? Of course not. The owner's face sank. I'll call the Industry and Commerce Bureau right away. The parrot you sold me has no quarantine certificate, and I'm feeling a headache right now. I took out my mobile phone. The owner's face turned red and white several times and reluctantly gave me the computer. In the surveillance, I saw the woman stop her electric bike and enter the store with a bird stand. As the owner said, she had long hair, wore a face mask, so her face couldn't be seen, and she was wearing a red dress. I recorded it with my mobile phone. The owner opened his mouth but finally said nothing. I found it. This was Mother Red. 6. I sent the photo to my friend. This woman looks very strange, I said. But I can't put my finger on what's wrong. It's probably that she doesn't look gentle enough. She doesn't seem like the type who would lull a baby to sleep, my friend replied. Sounds reasonable. Although people should not be judged by their appearance, the appearance is, after all, a reflection of the heart. My friend pondered for a while and said, I'm usually a good judge of people. I hope it's just an illusion. Anyway, Mama Red can explain. I pointed at the dress on the woman. Is it really explained like this? Isn't it a bit strange to call a mother by the color of her dress? Or does she wear this dress every day? So that's why the child has such an impression. But what other explanation could there be? There's no other information to be found in the pet store. I scratched my head and suddenly remembered that a lot of the parrot's voices had been recorded on that mobile phone, including the lullaby sung by the woman. I found the edited video and sent it to my friend. The gentle singing came out of the speaker. Although it was conveyed through the parrot, it couldn't conceal the unique tone of a mother. I closed my eyes and listened. I just couldn't associate abuse with this singing. My friend listened to it several times and asked if the store surveillance had recorded the woman's voice. The dogs in the store were too noisy. Nothing could be heard clearly, I sighed. And the boss said that the woman didn't talk much, didn't haggle over the price and was in the store for only about 1 minute. It seems that she was eager to sell, my friend said. But why? She must be divorced and doesn't want to be bothered anymore, I answered. Then, on second thought, another question occurred to me. Tell me, in a family where a child is abused, isn't it unreasonable to buy such an expensive pet for the child? It's quite normal, my friend explained. People have two faces. Some parents will immediately buy things for their children as compensation after hitting them. Essentially, they feel guilty about their own behavior in their hearts, and buying things is just to comfort themselves. Then, was the parrot bought by the mother or the father? I asked. The mother, my friend answered firmly. Parents of this kind have a strong possessive desire. 80% of the time, the seller is the buyer. Does that mean this mother also? I covered my mouth. No, she may just be guilty for not being able to protect the child. But don't be too naive either. In the family, this mother may not simply play the role of a victim. I always feel that we've missed something. Mama read. Mom? I stared at the woman in the video and repeated it in a murmur. The parrot on the shelf, as if stimulated by my words, flapped its wings and cried out. Mama is coming again. The little bird sings. Mama is coming again. The little bird sings. Strangely, this voice was actually tinged with sobs. My friend and I looked at each other, and an ominous premonition welled up in our hearts. Why is the child crying? When Mama comes, shouldn't the child be happy? My friend didn't answer. I could guess how she felt. We must find this family as soon as possible, my friend said in a deep voice. Something is wrong. We need to save that child quickly. 7. I simply sorted out the clues at hand for now. 1. The parrot comes from a family of 3. When the parrot eats an apple, it takes a bite and then puts it down, waiting to be fed again. Constant feeding is a characteristic of a child's feeding. 2. The father smokes, drinks heavily and often sleeps on the couch. 3. The mother sings to lull the child to sleep and has a red dress. The child is suspected of being abused and often cries, "Don't kill me." It is highly likely that the abuser is the father, but judging from the words "Mom is coming again," it seems that the child is also afraid of the mother. The friend thought for a while and added the following details. 1. The child is 8 years old or older. The parrot once said, "I'm 8 years old." 2. The meanings of red mom, fat mom, thin mom and black mom are unclear. At present, only red mom can be explained by the red dress. Red mom has the highest frequency of appearance. 3. It is very likely that the mother is the buyer of the parrot and also the one who sold it. The reason is unknown. Divorce? 4. This family only has 2 meals a day. Wait, how do you know that they have 2 meals a day? I interrupted my friend. The parrot once said, "It's 10 o'clock, let's have a meal, and it's 7 o'clock, let's have a meal," right? People who have meals at these 2 times are having brunch for the first meal and dinner for the second meal. It's a very bad lifestyle, said the friend. You're really something. I praised. But is this clue useful? With only these clues, write it down first whether it's useful or not. The friend seemed a little impatient. Now the most important thing is to find that woman and figure out what fat mom, thin mom and black mom mean. Have a hunch that once this clue is solved, the whole incident will be clear. I asked my friend whether we should call the police. What's the use of calling the police? We only have a bird right now and everything else is just speculation. There are only these few clues and we seem to have reached a dead end. I felt a sense of powerlessness. A child may be suffering, but in such a vast sea of people, it's not easy to find someone. Don't worry. I'll think about it again. There must be a way. The friend comforted me. 8. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I was awakened by a sudden and urgent phone ring. It was a call from my friend. There's a lead. Look at this car. My friend, with two dark circles under his eyes, could not restrain his excitement in his tone. I quickly looked at the screen. The car my friend was talking about was the electric bike on which the woman rode to the pet store. The surveillance camera only captured the lower half of the bike and only two wheels could be seen. I can't see anything. That's not the point. The woman rode this electric bike to the store, but when she left, this bike was gone. It's a shared bike. I still didn't understand. What could a shared bike indicate? Did it mean that the woman lived not far from the pet store? But this range was still too large. As long as we know where the bike was ridden from to the pet store, can't we lock in her location? But how do you know? I just called the area managers of every shared bike company. My friend coughed awkwardly. I randomly made up an address and told them that at about what time that day, I rode from there to the pet store. As a result, it kept showing that the bike return failed and deducted my service fee. I said that if they didn't solve it, I would call the mayor's hotline to complain. Guess what happened? You found the address? Yes. Just now, the manager of the OFO told me that indeed there was a bike that day ridden from Tianrui community to the pet store, but their side showed that the bike was returned successfully because it was immediately ridden away by another person. Although this method is a bit clumsy, finally, my friend sighed. Go and find that child quickly. Got it. Look, you haven't removed your makeup yet. Go to bed first. Leave the task of finding someone to me. You don't think too much, I said. My friend smiled wryly and nodded, looking extremely tired. I looked at the parrot standing on one leg on the stand with its head tucked into its wings and felt my eyes getting a bit sour. 9. Before 6 o'clock the next day, I was already lurking on the opposite side of Tianrui community. To be honest, if that woman changed her clothes, I wasn't sure I could recognize her. But this was our only lead, and I had to wait. However, after keeping watch continuously from morning to night for 2 days, I didn't see the slightest sign of that woman. Is it possible that she drives in and out? I was a bit frustrated. Don't be discouraged. Although this method is clumsy, it must work. Trust me. Sure enough, at noon on the third day, I saw that familiar figure. Wearing a red dress and carrying a garbage bag in her hand, she walked towards the garbage can at the entrance of the community. I couldn't restrain my excitement and jumped up and ran across the road. A shrill braking sound came, and a minivan screeched to a halt half a meter away from me. The driver rolled down the window and shouted abuse at me. In the moment when I was stunned, the woman had already thrown away the garbage and turned around to go back. I apologized repeatedly and wanted to catch up, but the driver jumped out of the car and grabbed me and wouldn't let me go. I watched helplessly as the woman turned a corner and disappeared. All the efforts of the past 3 days seemed to be in vain at this moment. I turned my head and glared fiercely at the driver, almost bleeding with rage in my eyes. That person was also the type who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Seeing me like this, he cursed a few times and got in the car and ran away. I slumped down on the roadside, called my friend, and finally couldn't help crying out. It's okay, it's okay. My friend comforted me repeatedly. At least it proves that all our guesses are correct. There is still a chance. But that child. Whenever I think of him, I couldn't stop crying. We can save him. Trust me. My friend said, go and see what's in the garbage bag first. I ran over, opened the garbage can, and tore open the bag. Inside were all wine bottles, cigarette butts, and takeout boxes. Can't be wrong. Keep waiting. I went back to my original position and stared straight at the opposite side. 10. That night, things took a turn. A taxi stopped at the entrance of the community. The woman, dressed in the familiar dress, got out of the car, with a bag in one hand, and walked into the community. When did the woman go out again? I actually missed it. There was no time to think too much. I quickly jumped up and followed. In order not to arouse suspicion, I dared not run. When I walked quickly into the community, the woman had already walked to the unit entrance and rang the doorbell, while constantly tugging at the dress on her body with one hand. The door clicked open. The woman walked in, and the door slammed shut again. It doesn't matter. I found you. I stood downstairs, looking up at the voice-controlled lights in the corridor. The lights lit up floor by floor until the 4th floor. They stayed on for a while and then went out. I contacted my friend and asked her what to do next. My friend watched the video I shot and frowned deeply. You just said that the woman got out of the taxi, but you didn't see her go out, my friend asked. Well, maybe I didn't notice. Maybe. Is that still important now? We've already found her. I was a little impatient. I don't know. And I've noticed a strange problem. What? This woman's dress, the one who just went upstairs, looks very ill-fitting. It's too tight, right? That's why she was tugging at it with her hand just now. But when the woman came out to throw away the garbage this morning, she didn't give the impression of ill-fitting clothes. Are you overthinking it? It might just be a habitual movement. I didn't know why my friend was starting to hesitate at this time instead. No. The more at this time, the more we can't be impatient. My friend's voice was surprisingly calm. Don't forget the parrot's words, the one we haven't understood yet. Red mother, fat mother, thin mother, black mother. I murmur. Yes, what I want to say is, are the two women in red dresses we saw today really the same person? My friend stared into my eyes. 11. My mind is a bit of a mess. You mean different women in the same clothes go in and out of a house, but how can that make sense? Just my feeling. My friend paused for a moment. It's really hard to explain. Not knowing what to do, I wandered downstairs for half an hour. Coincidentally, an auntie cleaner was pushing a cart towards the side. Let's find out about the situation first. My friend gave me a few instructions. I stepped forward to stop the auntie cleaner, suppressing my confused emotions and trying hard to force a smile. Hello, auntie. I'm here to rent a house on the 4th floor of this unit. I pointed at the unit door. He said his family is about to move out, but I just called that man and no one answered. I've been waiting here for a long time. Do you know what's going on in his family? The auntie looked very kind. She clearly was an honest person at first sight. I felt a bit guilty. I could lie so naturally now. The family on the 4th floor. The auntie was stunned for a moment. Are you sure you've got the right place? I took out my mobile phone and pretended to look at the address. I said it was definitely right, 4th floor, building 2, Tianrui community. How can there be a man in that household? The auntie waved her hand. No, ma'am. I quickly said, isn't it a couple in his family with a 7 or 8-year-old child? Oh, there must be some mistake. There is no child in that household either. The auntie said as she walked forward. Only a woman lives there. That's impossible. I realized that my tone was wrong and quickly added, are you sure? I heard the child and his family talking. Hey, I've been working here for several years. I'm familiar with this building. I know how old the children in every family are. I've never seen a child in her family. Girl, I advise you not to rent the house of this household. That woman. The auntie frowned. What's wrong with that woman? I don't think she's a good person. The auntie smiled awkwardly. It's not that I like to gossip. She doesn't seem to have a proper job and always takes a taxi to go out at night. Once I met her when I was off work late. She was heavily made up. Well, girl, you should be careful when renting a house. No, ma'am. No, child. The sudden news made me dizzy. I mumbled in response, not knowing what to say. As we were talking, we had already arrived at the property office with the auntie. Look. Just as we were talking about her, here she comes. The auntie pointed out of the window. The woman had walked to the entrance of the community before we knew it. Taxi was waiting outside. It seemed that she had made an appointment in advance. The woman still carried her bag and got into the taxi and left. The video had been on all the time. I held up my mobile phone to show my friend. Something's wrong. My friend said. We may have been on the wrong track from the very beginning. We have always assumed that the person who smokes and drinks is a man, but what if it's not? In what the parrot has said, the word father has never been mentioned. Also, just now the auntie said she had never seen the child. We are sure there is an 8-year-old child, right? Before, I always felt that I had missed some clue. It's the mealtime. An 8-year-old child should go to school, right? A normal school-going child will never have dinner at home at 10 o'clock. That child is locked at home. So no one has ever seen him. Has it always been the mother who has imprisoned the child? I felt cold all over. The woman who just went out had wet hair. Did you see that? My friend's voice was a few degrees lower. What? What do you mean? I don't know. My mind is in a mess right now. My friend said, there is a hook in the cleaning cart. Take it. What is it for? While the auntie turned around, I quietly picked up the hook and went out. Break it. We must go in. My friend said word by word. Don't be afraid. I'm here. 12. It's very simple to open the access control in the corridor. Just ring the doorbell of any household at random and say that you live in this building and have forgotten your keys. I did as my friend said. Sure enough, the door was opened and I smoothly arrived at the door on the 4th floor. What should we do now? Pry the door open. Sweat oozed from my hand holding the hook. What are you thinking? The whole building would hear that. Well, bend the hook. My friend drew it for me on a piece of paper. I bent the hook into an L shape as my friend told me. The longer end was the bend of the hook. Have you seen how a locksmith opens this kind of old-fashioned anti-theft door? Seems to have a little impression. I tried hard to think. You've forgotten it all. My friend sighed softly. When I was a child, my parents left me in the corridor and went out to play by themselves. It was very cold that day. I couldn't bear the cold and called a locksmith to open the door. Have you forgotten? Use the tip of the hook to pry off the peephole. I loosened the peephole with the hook, inserted the tip of the hook into the gap between the peephole and the door and pried it hard. The plastic shell of the peephole snapped and fell to the ground. Push the remaining part into the room. I pushed the hook hard into the position of the peephole as if poking a stove. The remaining part of the peephole was vulnerable and fell into the room. Insert the hook into it and use the longer end to pull the doorknob. I did as I was told. I lay on the door, feeling the position of the hook inside the door. When I felt that I had hooked something, I prayed secretly and pulled hard. The door clicked open. 13. It was daytime, but the curtains were drawn in the room, so it was very dark. The sofa and the table were the only furniture in the living room. There were cigarette butts and flattened beer cans on the floor. It was undoubtedly this house. The smell of being confined, the smell of cigarette smoke and the smell of alcohol were all mixed together, giving off a hopeless smell. Find the child quickly. My friend's voice trembled. There was a pinyin picture stuck on the door of a bedroom. I stepped forward to turn the doorknob, but it wouldn't turn. Beast, lock the child up. Before my friend could say anything, I kicked the door open. A child who looked only 7 or 8 years old huddled in the corner, hugging his head and trembling all over. His hair was long enough to reach his shoulders, but judging from the clothes he was wearing, he was a boy. Mom! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! The child couldn't cry out loud and was crying repressively. I had heard the parrot repeat the same words many times, but when I heard the child cry out in person, it was as if I was crying myself. It's all right. It's all right. I'm not your mom. I stepped forward to hug him. He just hugged his head with both hands and trembled in my arms. We found your parrot. Come with us. Shall we take you to find your parrot? My friend said softly. The child trembled as if he had been electrocuted and slowly raised his head. His eyes were full of panic and a glimmer of hope. My friend sang that nursery rhyme, and the child's body became soft in my arms. I picked up the limp-limbed child and got up to go outside. By accident, I glanced out of the window. Outside the bedroom window was a balcony, and a figure in a red dress was standing there. For a while, I was frozen in place and couldn't move, and that figure didn't move either, just swaying slightly. It's the clothes hanging there, and that on it is a wig. My friend said. We made a mistake. There is still someone in this house. 14. His mother. Didn't she just go out? I didn't dare to move. No. This morning we didn't see a woman go out, but she took a taxi to the community. The one who went out just now was the woman who took a taxi. The person we saw throwing garbage the first time, he is still in the house, and is a man. That man dressed up as a woman to go out. I felt a wave of nausea. I'm afraid not only does he dress up as a woman outside, but at home, he also wears a wig and women's clothes. Remember? The child has never called father. We guessed wrong. It's not that there is no father in the family, but that the father has dressed up as the mother. No, no. I said, the women's clothes are drying on the balcony. He didn't at home. He just took them off. My friend interrupted me. The woman who just left came to the door and her hair was wet, do you understand? He may have fallen asleep and hasn't woken up yet. My friend lowered his voice. I have an idea. You leave quietly. I swallowed and was just about to move my feet. A man's arm appeared in the window and reached out to pull down the dress. Then another hand pulled off the wig. Half a face peeked out from the edge of the window, with broken hair covering the forehead and revealing two mad-like eyes. Suddenly I understood what was wrong with the woman in the surveillance. The eyes above the face mask were clearly those of a man. Run! My friend roared. 15. I rushed out of the bedroom door, but it was already too late. The hurried footsteps came from behind. A hand grabbed my hair and I fell to the ground with the baby in my arms. I felt my throat being tightly gripped. A distorted face was in front of mine, and the heavy breath mixed with a stench blew on my face. My head was so congested that it was about to burst, and my vision was getting black bit by bit. In despair, I groped around randomly with my hands and touched the iron hook at the bedroom door. I grabbed the hook. The man's yellowish teeth were right in front of me. I stuffed the tip of the hook into his mouth and yanked it hard. The man let out a howl like a pig being slaughtered. The pressure on my neck disappeared. I pushed him away with all my might, rushed to the baby, picked him up and rushed out again. The moment I picked up the baby, I burst into tears. It was not because I was almost choked to death. It was because the baby in my arms also opened his arms and hugged me tightly. He didn't even dare to cry after being dropped like that just now. Rushing to the door, I turned the doorknob and opened the door, and rushed into the corridor. I brought you out, I thought to myself. Suddenly, there was a whooshing sound behind my head, followed by a dull thud, and then everything went black in front of my eyes. An ashtray fell at my feet and shattered into pieces of broken glass all over the floor. It was all. A pair of hands grabbed my feet and dragged me into the room. I held on to the threshold with my last bit of strength, but I was still dragged in little by little. At the moment when I fainted, I heard hurried footsteps coming from downstairs. 16. In the ward, with a bandage wrapped around my head, I was lying in bed. Without me, you would have been really doomed this time. If you want the property management to arrive at your home within 2 minutes, just call and tell them your house is on fire. How about that? It works, right? My friend laughed. You're really joking about my life. I smiled wryly. You're very brave. I thought you didn't dare to break in. Weren't you afraid? My friend said. If you weren't afraid, then neither was I. I replied. The police's investigation report is out. Do you want to hear it? Sure. That man divorced his wife 2 years ago. The woman didn't take the child with her. Since then, the man has been abnormal. He started drinking heavily and dressing himself up as his wife. Wearing a wig and his wife's dress? I asked. Yes. Moreover, he made the child call him mom, as if by doing so, his wife was still at home. Go on. I felt a bit gloomy. Later, he started to call prostitutes to come to his place and made them put on his wife's clothes in advance. That's what the child meant by several moms. I felt a bit dazed. Is the child's mental state still normal? Having been imprisoned for 2 years and without communicating with anyone, I'm afraid there will be an impact. We should have noticed earlier. The child's words are too simple and childish. He can only repeat the people and objects he has seen, not forming complete sentences, which doesn't match his age. The one in red clothes is red mom, the one whose clothes are a bit tight is fat mom, and then white mom and black mom. They have all been found. In the child's eyes, they are just a few women with relatively white and black skin. I stared blankly at the ceiling and didn't speak for a long time. The parrot was sent by the child's biological mother. She taught the parrot to sing a lullaby. My friend said. A form of compensation. I gave a rather unpleasant laugh. I don't know. Maybe in the child's heart, he knows that the woman who can sing is his mother. So whenever those women came, the child would say that sentence. Mom is here again. The little bird is singing. I imagined the child huddled in the corner, talking to the parrot. Why did he sell the parrot? He didn't have a job. He sold all the furniture that could be sold for money. Fortunately, the parrot came into our hands. If it had been any later. I was silent. Don't be too pessimistic. It is said that before the age of 7, people will confuse their dreams and reality. Maybe for him, it was just a nightmare. My friend comforted me. You say, what kind of person will that child become when he grows up? Will he forgive his parents? I asked softly. You say, what kind of person will that child become when he grows up? Will he forgive his parents? My friend repeated. 17. The door of the ward was pushed open, and the doctor in a white coat walked in. You're awake. Just now I heard some noise outside. Who were you talking to? The doctor asked with a smile. No. I was lying alone on the bed, with empty hands. Don't tell them. A voice said. Sure. I replied. Yes, the friend is me, but also not me. She's the person I have always wanted to be. When encountering problems, she always talks in my heart. I imagine that she runs to a city without parents and lives a good life alone. I am the person who checks clues at 4 in the morning, and she has always been by my side. I am the girl who was locked outside the door in winter and huddled in the corridor. How could I forget? The property's phone number is stored in my mobile phone. It was she who reminded me. Without her, I can't live. You just suffered a slight injury. Are you all right? Why are you in a daze? The doctor waved his hand in front of my eyes. You must want to see someone. The doctor moved aside, and the boy was standing at the door. Hi, do you still remember us? I waved with a smile. The boy timidly raised one hand to greet me. Hello. I heard a few funny voices. He was holding a stand in his hand, on which stood a bright green parrot.